Kane, it's 1-0. We're fucking down. 13th in the championship. The takeover happened as I said it would. People will be. Oh, when have we got Leeds? Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe football show. And yeah, I'm going to be talking with Mr. Gabe. I was going to say formerly of One Leeds, then I was going to say, no, he's still on One Leeds. Let me just turn my light on, I forgot. Wow, that was bright, wasn't it? Whew, hurt my eyes, that. Yeah, so basically, yeah, for those that are asking, like, what's going on here, like, as you know, like, at the minute, yeah, I'm frustrated with the current ownership. Okay, I feel that it's just it's the same shop, just a different manager. Okay, that's my opinion on it. Maybe a lot of that is due to the fact that maybe Angus is still here, and I feel, although I do believe he is massively culpable, that Victor Orta is a scapegoat. Now, I'm not for 1 second here saying he's not the issue. He's 90% of the issue. But what I'm saying is, like, it's easy because Radwazani did it, right? He sat in his interview and went, yeah, I was partly to blame, but yeah, Victor. Basically, he was the scapegoat. And everyone keeps telling me, well, Victor was sacked, so that's why. He was the fall guy, although he was, again, like I'll say, 90% responsible. Now, this is my thing, and I get a lot of people in my comments, giving me steak for it and all that sort of stuff. And big shout out Tok, by the way, who told me to go to bed and read a book on Bielsa, and I told him to go throw the oval ball in the comments, and all of a sudden I was being xenophobic. But it's all right for you to tell me to go to bed and read Bielsa. That's what I don't understand. But when I say go throw an oval ball in the garden, I'm xenophobic, and that's why I wanted to prove tonight that I'm not, because I'm wearing American apparel. Yeah. So I've got my Raiders hat on. Although I don't know whether that's a good thing, because I don't know if they're like enemies of 49ers or something. I don't know. Maybe my guest Gabe will be able to tell me. So without further ado, let me welcome him in. How are you, my brother from across the
pond? Happy to be here, Joe. Always a pleasure to be on your show.
Good. I'm glad, mate. I'm glad. How are you then, my brother from across the pond?
What a terrible hat you're wearing.
I'll change it, bro. I'll change it. This is what I'm saying. I'm about to change it for you now. Go ahead, mate. How are you?
I'm not patriotic enough. I've lived abroad too much, so I don't have any
xenophobic Joe's out. Talk to me.
He's brought me on here to tar and feather me, everybody. This is what's gonna happen.
How are you, bro? How are you? All good?
I'm all right, man. Yeah, just hanging in there. Any Leeds fan that says they're doing great right now is lying.
Yeah, it's brutal, isn't it? It's brutal, mate. It is. And obviously is Gabe, are you Canadian, Gabe?
No, but there is this, I think it started off as a wind-up, but there are people that genuinely think I'm Canadian. Like, somebody was defending me in my mentions on Twitter the other day, which was quite nice, and they were like, listen, he's Canadian, he's a really nice guy. I was like, what? So I'm not sure where that came from. I'll take it. Canadians are good.
Yeah, they're notoriously. I mean, Edge is a Canadian, and Edge is one of my favorite wrestlers. So that's good. I think he's Canadian anyway. I don't know. I think he is. Right. Listen,
the Hearts are Canadian.
Okay, Matt and Jeff. Amazing.
No, the Hearts, like way back.
Oh, Brett. I thought you said the Hardys. Sorry, yeah, Brett, Owen, etc. Yeah, Natalia. Yeah, I get it. I know my wrestling. I like to pretend to do anyway. Juan Martinez says I'm definitely calling him Canadian now. I don't blame you, mate. I don't blame you. Listen, we've already seen. I don't know if you've seen this. I know you mentioned it briefly on the debrief earlier on. Asher's power over Twitter with his little cronies and Juan Martinez have managed to convince people that we're in for Wood and McBurney. I actually woke up this morning, Gabe. I went for my coffee. I went on Twitter, and McBurney was trending, and I was like, "What is going on here? Like, how is this happening?"
Connor both tweeted and sent it to me. He said, "Listen, if we're in for Chris Wood, you can have the channel. I'm done making content." He said he was just, he'd be completely done. Yeah, you're right. It's a bit of a piss take right now on Twitter.
It is. It is. It's not. It's not a great place either, though. Right. This is what always happens when when there's a void, it gets filled.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm guilty of filling that because I get frustrated and I sit there twiddling my thumbs and I read articles that the 49ers, put together in cahoots with the
See,
Daily
you're
Mail.
convinced
And
that happens. I don't.
okay,
I
so talk to me
disagree.
about
I
it.
disagree on some
Talk
of
to
this.
me. Right. So
So
let's start there then. Let's
yeah,
start there.
right. So you're 100% right that that every team, club, even business has folks in media that they leak to.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be the Daily Mail. And like the reality is there's a lot we can pick from. And I think we as fans do a considerable amount of filling in the gaps
Uh-huh.
based on they're not narratives because that makes it sound like they're not genuine opinions, but based upon where our opinions already lie. And I think
Mhm.
that if like, for instance, the Daily Mail wrote this puff piece on the 49ers
Yeah.
hope and change thing. I mean, plenty of people have written enthusiastic or hopeful stuff as well. I don't necessarily think that means that they're being fed. And one thing I will say is that none of these sources have successfully dropped a lot of the links we've had to the players that we've signed.
Sure.
Well, we haven't signed a lot of players, but to the ones we have, none of them were in the know, right? So I know I'm a little bit less inclined to speculate who's being dropped what lines because I do know
Yeah.
that um, and we also know that other officials or people in various roles in the club will have people that they'll talk to on the down low.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
probably know some of those people that know those folks, right? So like, it's I tend to not assume that if X article says that thing that comes from the 49ers. I know that, but I know that you believe it. You're a man of strong opinions on that.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't lie. And then what happens is people disagree, and then I get more annoyed. I'm like out on my phone, like my fingers are burning. Just for the for those that are unaware which piece we're talking about, this is the headline that I tweeted out earlier on because it says skeptics were quick to criticize the 49ers full takeover, but now with ambitious and intelligent plans, the relegated club has been given a new lease of life. I think we can both agree, Gabe, that the club at this moment in time doesn't have a new lease of life.
Well, it's
Or
a
does
new
it?
lease,
Or
but
does it go?
sometimes if you go to a new place, it's sometimes worse than the last. But no, I don't think that's the case here. It's new in a sense, but you're right. It's I know that Joe. I know some people haven't wanted to believe this, but things are going to get worse before it gets better. And corporate turnover, and that's what is happening right now. Sometimes big groups of people go all at once, and then sometimes it takes a little while. So I work in tech, right? And we get reorged once every 5 or 6 months, and usually once or so a year, new people come in and a whole bunch of people go out. And you kind of wait for the first 6 months to say, okay, now we'll wait to see who these people are going to put in. Sometimes it takes a while, and as fans, that's not going to be very satisfying. I think that we're pretty dissatisfied with Angus Kinnear's continued role at the club, right? I think that's part of the perception that nothing has changed, right? Is because you have that there.
Yeah.
But I think what I would bring up, because I've heard you talk about this a lot. I don't think you're wrong to be dissatisfied with it. But look at what Todd Bowley did over at Chelsea. He fired everyone. And then took over himself. And the only reason they didn't go down is because they had a squad that's worth, $500 million. And even then they were still in free fall. Right. So sometimes you do need transitional pieces that, I mean, personally, and I know nothing, right? I don't have any sources at the club at all.
Mate, you need to. Do you know what will start to happen? You'll be the, as I see in other clubs, and obviously, see social media now is such a big that certain fans then get labelled as being like in cahoots with.
Oh yeah,
Do you
I'm
know what I
already a
mean? That's
sponsored
yeah.
content creator, even though I don't have my own channel. I'm already on the 49ers dole. But
Yeah.
but the thing is, Joe, like I expect Angus Kinnear to be gone after Christmas. I
Okay.
cannot see them deciding to go with him long term, but I think that you can't get rid of everybody all at once and expect to, like, think about appointing a manager. Chelsea couldn't even get a manager in that I hate to keep comparing with Chelsea, but this was a different type of American owner, right? Todd Bowley is a lot different than Parag in the 49ers group. Todd Bowley is one of those, I think I can do anything I want because I've got more money than God type
The
of
way
people.
they're moving at the minute, though, Gabe, I'd rather have Todd Bowley.
Would you though? Because if you take Leeds United's infrastructure and quality of players and you do the takeover like that Todd Bowley did, like we'd go down, right? Because Chelsea happened to have a squad quality, whether we like those players or not, like that team or not. I think the unfortunate reality right now is it's going to get worse before it gets better.
No, I agree with you because at the end of the day, Adams, Sinisterra, and Nonto have not left the football club yet, and they're going to. It looks like so. You would imagine, So in a sense, the squad's going to get worse. Although we're probably not even including them when we're looking at Friday.
Right. We're definitely not including Adams, right? He's not going to play for the club again.
Yeah.
Too bad. But at least Joe, at least his clause has a trigger date that's before the end of the window. So at least they're not able. His agent isn't able to like look for, just wait and the trigger on the last day because that would leave us in a horrible state.
Really, really bad. Which brings us on to the contracts, and I think this is where the main disagreement will come. And I was in the chat earlier on as I was paying and people were saying, "Get Joe in," and
you have your own minions, by the way. They were in there pretty good, asking for you to come in.
I know, Connor. I messaged Connor. I went, "Get me in this chat," but he weren't having none of it. So yeah, but for me, and I know your stance is the previous ownership and Victor Orta were the ones that put this contract situation in place, right?
Yes, that is my position.
My case is that, and everyone keeps reminding me that minority shareholders don't, and I've even been Googling, like, this is how frustrated I was, Gabe, with people. I was thinking, I'm sure they have more power than what they're letting on. And when I did Google it, yeah, everyone was right, but they don't have as much power. But my point is, though, they've been in situ since 2018, right? That's a long time. And people will mention minority shareholders, and I think, okay, we're not talking me having 5% in my mate's plumbing company. We're talking about a football club, and to invest in a football club at the highest level or on the way to the highest level, it's a hell of a lot of money. It's a hell of a lot of money that you're just willing to go, okay, we're not going to have any say whatsoever. Here's just some cash, right? So my thing is they've been sat on board meetings, you'd imagine. Decisions have been made. And I just think that they were privy to it. And I think the line is there's a podcast actually on The Athletic from 2021 that Parag Marath did with Mark Chapman, and I forget the other guy, and they were talking about it. And he said in that piece, I can bring, and just bear me one moment. Sakamoto, why are you on about me being bald and ginger? What's your problem, man? Why do you keep mentioning this? Like, what's up with you, man? It's really triggered me. What's up with you? I'm having some ginger nuts. It is what it is. Have you not seen a ginger man before? Chill out.
There's this thing people do where they keep copying and pasting the same thing. And I'm just like, all right, we get it. Like I'm evil because I'm an American. I understand.
I just don't understand.
Leeds resident, by the way.
Yeah, man. I just don't understand, man. Give me a break. I was landing there. No, my point is the fact that they've been in so long. Parag's been called in as some sort of like contract guru. Let's be honest, he called himself an architect, a salary cap architect, and a chief negotiator. Basically, he's bigged himself up. He hasn't done himself any favors in saying we're going to be aggressive, because we're now 16 days out, or maybe 15 if we've gone past midnight soon, which we're 2 weeks out, basically. And in that time, we've got games to play, training, etc. So it sort of shortens the time that they're able to do things. But for me, because he's come in as this chief negotiator, I believe that he is massively culpable, or the 49ers are also culpable for the contract situation we find ourselves in. And the main point being, and I guess sort of further solidifies my point. And we'll never know. We are just guessing.
Right.
But my thing is, Jack Harrison had this deal, and I believe that the 49ers were massive in him not going to Leicester. You know,
Sure.
I heard Oscar talking about Zaniolo, that'd have been better for us, and that I disagree completely, but that's fine. But because they said to Radrazani, no, you are not selling one of our key assets. We are keeping him. We believe anyway. It was there, you know, something along those lines.
Yeah.
They've then created a new contract, and in that contract, it includes a piece on there, saying that Harrison can leave.
Yeah, a relegation clause. Yeah.
A relegation loan clause, which is the same,
right.
Gabe, as Aronson, Vorber,
Right.
Koch, the rest. So for me, what's changed?
So here's what's changed for me. Jack Harrison, whether people love him or not, is one of Leeds United's, and has been one of Leeds United's most important attacking players. You would expect a player like that to have a release clause or a loan clause in his contract. That is not unnatural for me. Now, in hindsight, it's obviously a bad idea because we went down, right? And we would love to keep Jack Harrison. Nobody thought at the end of the last match last season that Jack Harrison was gonna stick around. Every single one of us thought he was out the door. And I think if people didn't, then they're naive. Here's what for me is unforgivable, is a player like Brendan Aronson, who is 22 years old, who has never played in the Premier League or in a top 5 league, giving him a relegation clause, a loan clause, after spending that kind of money for him. To give the same to Max Vober, to give the same to, let's go down the list. What, 9 outgoing, 2 or 3 in sale, right? So for me, it doesn't bother me that, because you're right, Parag was involved. Radrazani was going to get rid of Jack. And they basically said no. And you can understand they're saying, okay, the season's almost over here. We're trying to keep one of our assets for next season. We're going to be owning the football club. And, you know, naturally they'd want something to say about it. Where I don't think they could have been involved is in those earlier contracts. I think the only 2 contracts I'm willing to give an educated guess of their involvement is Jack Harrison's and Jorginho Rutter's, right? Simply because it was pretty clear and obvious that Radrazani didn't want to pay the money for Rutter. And I think he's like, I'm out of here. Why would I want to shell out this kind of money? And the 49ers came in and said, okay, fine. If that's what you guys feel like we need. But again, it wasn't like they targeted the player.
No.
They listened to Jesse and Victor, and they said, all right, if this is what you want. And remember, the 49ers didn't back Marsh or Orta. They wanted him gone before Christmas, right? So, you know, so when we talk about culpability, is there some culpability? Well, there has to be, right? I think the biggest culpability for the 49ers is that their strategy was to aggressively try to retain the talent we have. That was never going to work, in my opinion. And I think that earlier. I think that was probably a sticking point with a lot of the managers we were so allegedly talking to. Because when you sit down and talk to these guys, you'd say, hey, we're going to have a ton of money to splash out in the market. Here it is. Because the 49ers knew about the FFP. No, they weren't ignorant about it. But it's the situation they're in. They can't change that. But they would have said, okay, our plan is to aggressively go after the people we think we can retain and try to convince them to stay on for another year or 2. Or they could say, all right, we're going to lose these guys. We're going to leverage amortization, and we're going to try to make some modest, reasonable signings, but a lot of them, just to try to be competitive. They clearly chose the former. And I think that is the mistake we can blame them for, is the competitive makeup of the squad right now. And all these players, I don't necessarily think that, like, you know, they can be blamed for the loan clauses, but they can be blamed for thinking that they were going to be able to go in and negotiate a stay for a guy like Tyler Adams, who for his national team has to play at the top level. He's not going to get called in if he's playing in the championship. That's just the reality. 3-4 years ago, he would. USA team was a lot weaker. They're a lot stronger now. And that midfield is a lot more competitive now. So I think there's some naivety there. I don't buy the argument that people say, well, you know, they don't have promotion relegation in America. Well, funny thing, the internet exists. That's how I can watch the Premier League. Like, I live here in the United States. We all know how promotion relegation works. And there's a big debate happening in the States right now in the Liga MX with MLS about promotion relegation, whether or not MLS should have it. So this is not a foreign concept. Like, you don't, the relegation clauses aren't going to confuse the owners. It's clearly
that would be really bad if they came in and didn't know what relegation
then
was.
They should be sacked off immediately. But I think the reality is, though, like the strategy, it struck me as like millionaire, billionaire arrogant. We're going to be able to have a sit down with these guys. And to be honest, some of our fans who are not millionaires or billionaires also think that we can just sit down with somebody and say, this is Leeds United.
Leeds United, I agree. Yeah.
And it just, do you remember Gary Neville talking about scum? This is Manchester United.
Yeah.
No one cares. It's an unsentimental, unforgiving business. And I mean, there's a reason Jack gave us a paragraph, because Jack's out. And I don't blame him for being out. I actually don't blame any of these folks for being on loan. These are the clauses, and they were mandatory. What I think is happening in our fan base and with some of our content creating community is I think we're pissed off and we don't know what to do with it. So we're going to find Victor Orta's gone. We can't, what are we going to do? Keep tweeting about Victor Orta? Are we going to keep sending rods, DMs, shout out to Connor? Like, no, but the 49ers are the face in front of us. They've been in charge of the club for just about 2 months. And right now the squad doesn't look very competitive. And we've clearly been bent over for a long time with these contracts. And this is just how it is.
So my main rebuttal, right, to this, and I've seen a few people mention it, is why is Harrison or Jack Harrison's contract basically a carbon copy of Aronson's? It's almost like a copy and paste jobby. So what are we saying there? Because you've said that the 49ers will have probably been involved with Jack Harrison's contract. Are we saying that in January they said to Jack, you're staying, and then when he said that, they went, oh, Victor, will you sort the contract out? I'm not sure that happened.
Well, no, but it's a binary, right? So if you give a relegation clause, which every
but it's not even it's a loan relegation clause, which I've never heard of. That's what I'm saying.
You can only do a loan relegation clause or a release figure. And the reality is none of the Leeds United players are going to, you're either going to leverage amortization, which allows you to, this is very boring stuff. And I'm so sorry to flip.
No, because I need it as well, bro. This is why I'm genuinely, and I don't mean this genuinely with this sort of stuff, it's not my wheelhouse. So that's why I wanted to have a chat with you so I can.
In a nutshell, what amortization allows you to do is allows you to take a depreciated asset, and instead of declaring a loss all at once, it allows you over a period of time to essentially deprecate that asset. So it's basically like, oh, this is an antique now. It doesn't have the same inherent value. Versus in the same year, they'll say, well, the market value is X. If you sell for Y, it's a loss, and it puts you in a far worse financial position. What they've essentially done here is they've kicked the can. They've said, okay, somebody can pick up his wages. We were not going to get a 20 million quid offer for Jack like Leicester offered us, because back then we were in the Premier League. We're not in the Premier League anymore. They know they don't have to spend that money. And to be honest, Jack Harrison's injured and his star isn't exactly shining. Now they still have an asset that if he proves that he's still at that level, fine. If not, he's going to come back here, and he doesn't, these clauses aren't self-repeating. They're in the event of a relegation event. So if he comes back on loan next year, he's a Leeds player, unless we get relegated to League One, which with this squad, let's hope that isn't the case. But so they basically decided to leverage amortization over declaring a loss. That's what they've decided to do. It's better for the club long-term. Financially, it's much safer. It prevents us from being in a Sunderland situation when they went down. However, it's not fun for the fans. No one's going to pretend it is. It stinks. This sucks. I'm not happy. You're not happy. No one's happy.
No.
But in these clauses, you either have a loan clause or a buy clause.
But I think this loan clause,
that's all there is.
I don't know if this loan clause, it's not something I've heard before. It doesn't seem universal. I may be wrong. Maybe other clubs have done it. But
it's rare to have so many. And I think the most, for me, it's Occam's razor, right? What's the simplest solution? That's probably the most likely. The most likely solution for me is that when they negotiated this, they said, oh, well, we've done loan clauses before. We want to leverage amortization as opposed to a total loss. Let's just use this a similar template. Simple. And there won't be sophisticated language, It's going to be a simple science.
So for me, again, if you think Tyler Adams' contract doesn't have a loan clause. His
Right.
has a straight release clause.
Yep.
So what? So this is my again.
And that's a bad contract. So let me tell you why I think that's a bad And now it's good now because like we need it. But you know what his his buy clause is? 20 million pounds. That's around
not
what
great.
we spent for him.
Yeah, it's 17, I think we paid.
Yeah, so we're not what was it's a 3 million gain. That's not very good, especially given our financial situation right now. I'd rather we have that clause in, but to be honest, if we would not have had a release clause for a player like Brendan Aronson of any higher than like 5 million, regardless of what we paid on the open market for him. We overpaid for that player by about 20 million pounds.
Yeah, it was bad, wasn't it?
We did. And I think that's part of the reason he got the heat he did. If he came in with a contract like Nyonto's, right, and was getting paid a weekly wage like Willie is, I think that people would say, yeah, it hasn't worked. Put him on the bench. But it's worse because he was bad and super expensive. So, some of it I think is that, as a player, you do have some say, and your agent is going to try to get Tyler Adams is never going to be a 50 million pound player, right? No. I don't buy this narrative that he's quote severely limited. Like people are liking to say now he went from being our best player to now he suddenly wouldn't be any good in the championship to some people, but
no, he's good in it. He's not great on the ball though. He's not Chelsea quality though.
No, absolutely, he's not Chelsea quality. No. But he'll start in that Bournemouth midfield.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%.
And so I mean, I think that's actually done the club a favor, and it's a reasonable contract. Not all players have reasonable agents, right? And it's pretty obvious to me that. And remember, part of transitions is you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. And if they had if it had been a new contract situation, right? Or sorry, a different player. Like let's take Jack Harrison and swap him out with another player, right? If it had been Jorginho Rutter, then I would have been like, okay, listen, I don't know why you would do a mandatory loan clause for a player who's never played a Premier League minute. With Jack Harrison, I get that there's a correlation because it's very similar, but because it's Jack Harrison, it's really hard for me to see beyond that it's Jack. I mean, he was going to get it. And this allows us to keep the asset and not have a loss. Especially think about the way these contracts were done. Augustin. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about the loss we incurred. What did we lose? 47 million quid?
A lot of money.
That's on the books for this season, by the way.
Yeah.
That loss.
Yeah.
So we can't keep declaring losses because that's what puts us in a worse situation with FFP, right? So
yeah. So do you? Where's your? So when for you? So when for you are the? See, for me, I don't know if it's because we've been poorly mismanaged for such a long time that I'm already seeing the bullshit. That's what's really getting to me. I'm already seeing the bullshit because you come out, you do. For me, you do the Leeds United podcast, which, by the way, all love for that. But I mean, it's more a case of that's the club media, so he's not going to be pressed.
Yeah,
he's not going to be pressed.
It's not press. It's club media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's not actually spoken to anyone yet, about what the plans are. And probably the first we'll hear from the club is Angus. And that's probably going to be on the square ball, you'd imagine. Let's stay with that.
Is he going to go on the square ball after some of the comments they've made recently? I doubt it.
Well, he's agreed to, hasn't he? He's agreed to it. Yeah. But he said after the transfer window, so we'll wait and see. But that, again, is another massive sticking point for me as to why the 49ers, because I genuinely felt there'd be upheaval at the club. There hasn't been. Radrazani's exited.
Mm-hmm.
Orta's exited, and that's it, really. So that
and
again,
9 players have gone. 100.
Internally. Internally, it don't, for me, on the face of it, look like anything's changed. And again, that for me, when was Angus for me? Like, this is my thing. When was that? It was almost like he was a double agent, because at which stage, my thing is, Gabe, if the boards or previous ownership, this ownership, and intertwined, then he wouldn't still be here for me, because they would go, thank you, Radrazani brought you in, game over, mate. But instead, it feels like they were on the same page and they've gone, we'll take you with us.
So here's what I would say to that, right? Daily operations of a club are a big deal. I mean, it's a business. There's a lot that goes on, right? The 49ers as a group and Parag is not going to be primarily in Leeds all the time. You do need to have a transition plan. And Angus is the least external facing, the more internal facing. And I mean, he does part of the comms program, but like most of the daily operations of the club, I would imagine, roll up to Angus Kinnear. That's like what he does. And so, I mean, you really let your employees down if you let a guy like that go. Now, with relegation, typically you have to lay off a whole bunch of your internal staff. Now, I know the joke is, and it's not an untrue joke, that Leeds were run like a League One club, but it doesn't mean that they didn't have employees. And those employees would have been sacked if the current owners didn't decide, okay, we're not going to downsize. But you can't take a downsize. God, I sound like a consultant. It's driving me crazy. But you can't take a downsized corporation, which is effectively what Leeds United is in this instance, and then get rid of a director of operations without a replacement lined up right away. And to be honest, these guys aren't football people, right? So they did well to bring in a guy like Hammond in the interim, right, to do that part of it, the scouting and the recruitment. And he's working really closely with Daniel Farke, because everybody that we brought in so far has been a Farke guy, right? But just for the operation stuff, the stuff that fans don't really. I mean, I'm sure nobody wants, the kit man to be sacked, right? No one's saying that, but but as fans, we don't really think about this stuff. That's mostly what a guy like Angus is going to be in charge of, right? So in order for the club to run internally, you do need I'm telling you, he's not going to be here in January.
According to the Daily Mail piece, no one was going to lose the job. If anything, we had to increase the numbers. If you remember,
yes, we do, and I'm sure we will.
The IT guy was also doubling up
as
groundsman and that.
Or was it the groundsman as the IT guy? Was
yeah, exactly. I don't know what his main skill set was, but madness really that was happening. I do want to put some comments up as well. The pro that we can have a chat about.
Also, Sakamoto, I get it. You hate Americans. You did this on the last stream as well. You're just we get it. You don't like Americans. I understand. It's fine.
Okay. Jamie, I've seen your comment. I'm starring some as we go. William Morrison says, when you're dealing with American investors, you have to ask what is the benefit to the show we're in. No benefit to this situation for the investors. My thing in this though, right, Gabe, is no one goes into a football club or in any business to lose money.
Right.
So I don't think
losers
that's a
and
good
winners,
line.
100%. Here's the big thing about the American investors line. Someone just Google right now, how many American investors are in world football? You'll be surprised. How many majority investors are American in the Premier League? You'll be surprised. More than you think.
Yeah, of course. Like Enoch at Spurs, you've got the Henry Group, right? At Liverpool, they're American.
You've got
right?
Arsenal. Arsenal are American.
Yeah, Cronkies. Yeah, exactly. No, I get the Glazers. I understand that.
Glazers are a bad example, but
but yeah, they are. I hear you.
Right now, it's Americans or it's Saudi or Saudi or Emiratis money. That's pretty much it.
Who's says the 49ers will not BS. They need to get promoted. It's that simple, or they would not buy the club. No, see this. What you're on about break record for manager contract? What does that even mean? What do you mean they broke a record? I don't know about that. They're putting 200 million into a stadium. They have plans. Trust. Again, you've probably read that from the Puff piece that was done. But my case in point, and someone else mentioned this on Twitter to me. I don't care about no stadium. I mean this, Gabe. I don't care about no stadium because the stadium counts for nothing if you are not putting it out on the pitch. Because someone made a great comment to me on Twitter. It says they want to increase the capacity of the stadium. If they carry on in this way, they'll reduce it to 17,000 by Friday. And what they mean by that is people will stop going. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not saying it'll be that drastic yet. But for me, all this stuff, stadium, I get over time it'll increase revenue and all that. But for me, you've got to get it right on the football pitch first.
The thing is, though, Joe, these guys, as their primary mode of focus in terms of the decisions they can make, those are decisions they can make informed decisions about. The football stuff has to fall to Hammond and Farke. That's it. To be honest, we can go as far back as the 1970s and 60s and talk about managers falling out with ownership because owners wanted to make football decisions, right? Or even GMs. I mean, look at Jose Mourinho's entire career, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't want non-football people making football decisions. What we do want is the expectation that multi-billionaires can multitask, right? That you can focus on the ground, because I do think those improvements are important. Listen, the Ellen Road isn't particularly accessible. It's not well kept, and there's not a lot of, for a city that's so proud of its football team, it should have a ground worthy of the support. That said, I 100% agree. The product on the football pitch has to be first and foremost. I just think that I don't think there's a realistic understanding of how badly things were run from top to bottom from the previous ownership group. And I think this ownership group is going to need a little time to bed in. They're going to make mistakes. And one of the mistakes, I'm not going to fault them for past contracts. I'm like, why in the world the previous ownership group decided to, and remember Victor Orta banging on about this, re-sign Diego Llorente and then give him a mandatory loan clause. Awesome. Great bit of business, Victor. Awesome. We really appreciate that. What I will say is I will hold them accountable for what they do this window. And if it's not good enough, if we don't bring in enough players, and if they have bet the farm on trying to get guys like Tyler Adams, Jack Harrison, Luis Sinisterra, Willie Gnonto to stay, that is a losing bet. And now I still think, because of this division, that you can be around the middle of the table and have a really good January and get right back into it for a playoff spot.
Agree. Yeah.
But I just think strap in. This is going to be a bumpy first 3 months. And by that, I mean, like, if you've experienced transatlantic turbulence, that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be nice.
I do agree with you. That's why I disagreed with, like, when Oscar and I think Connor was saying the top twos are the realms of possibility, and I'm really, really negative right now, but I don't think you can ever say that in the Championship, because, you know, we've seen Middlesbrough were in the relegation zone for the first 3 months of the season and ended up third. So I don't think you can ever say it's just cut and dry in the Championship. But clearly Southampton and Leicester are away right now. Do you know, I just want to go back a little just to something you said about the Victor Orta thing, the Llorente. For some reason, there was this piece, I remember, I don't know if it was in The Athletic, where they had this notion that centre-backs were going to be at a premium somewhere in the future. And I was like, where the fuck?
What centre-backs? And that's why I'm on about Victor Orta. Victor Orta looked at these guys. Yeah. And Victor Orta talked all the time about, I mean, he was the one that was like, Jesse Marsch is the future of this club.
100%.
Right? So he made that evaluation. He made the evaluation about Diego Llorente. He made the evaluation of this entire back four and decided that, hey, these guys are big money. Nobody knows, and I know better. Idiot.
Yeah. Idiot. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't disagree on that respect. You mentioned, though, about maybe the new ownership not knowing as bad as it were. Is that what you were saying along those lines?
No, I think they did know it was bad. I think they knew this exactly what they were inheriting, which is why they went from a $450 million buy to 100 and change, right? Because, like, this is not going to be, I mean, people can believe whatever they want. And during this time of difficulty for a Leeds fan, I'm not going to tell people not to hope, right? But I don't think it happens this season. I think we're looking at a 2-year bounce. That's what I think. And I think the first half of the season is going to be very, very difficult. And I think fans are going to have to decide if they're going to say, okay, then I think it would help, right? The 49ers came out and said, listen, I think they're trying to be professional. But if they came out and said, listen, you guys have no idea how bad things are here. It's going to take us a while to turn this ship around. Joe, honestly, we said this on our show a couple hours ago. I don't think players want to come here. And I think it's really hard for fans to understand that, because we're invested in Leeds United. But if you're a player, you're a young player, you're 21, and you've watched everything that's happened with this club, and all the good players are leaving, right? And your agent, say to you, Joe, listen, You're not in Nottingham Forest plans this year, but I've got a potential loan opportunity at Leeds United or with Cardiff. Right now, you're going to say, okay, I'm probably going to come back to my club at the end of the season. I'm going to go with Cardiff because Leeds are a mess.
No, Gabe.
I appreciate how loyal you are.
No way is anybody in their right mind, regardless of the situation we're in now, choosing Cardiff over Leeds United.
But this is what I'm saying. I think...
I get the Premier League pull, Bournemouth and all that. Even Sheffield United, but not Cardiff, not in the same division.
But if you're looking all things being equal, which do you think is a position you can succeed more in right now as a player?
Leeds United.
I don't agree. I don't agree.
Cardiff, I mean, maybe you could have used Leicester, something like that. Then I would agree, maybe.
Okay, how about this? Middlesbrough.
Again, nah, Middlesbrough, nah. Well, Leeds, I'm doing it.
I was just about to
say, well, Leeds United. I was just going to do that.
But this is what I'm saying. As a fan, I don't think there's any club more important in the world than Leeds United. But like, for instance, who's the Aston Villa kid? Archer, we're trying to go in for.
Yeah, but he's going Premier League, right?
That's what I'm saying. He's holding up. I think
Premier League, though.
But if it's a different prospect to come into Leeds United, it'd be like, well, actually, Sinisterra just recommitted. And Tyler Adams isn't going anywhere. And Jack Harrison's playing for him. Do you know what? Sure, send me Leeds United. I'll look like a hero in the championship. That's not where we're at right now. We're in free fall. Everybody's leaving. We've got 1 million players out on loan coming back next season. The coach is a very demanding coach, by the way. Demands a lot physically out of his players. Yeah. And when things go wrong, has a penchant to sort of start throwing his players under the bus. That's also happened, right? So, and that's not me saying he's unfair or that I don't like Farke. It's just a fact, right? Go back and look at it. Players aren't built the same way anymore. They're just not.
No, I agree.
And they're looking for an easiest path of impact. And I just don't think that Leeds right now, with Pascal Strauch starting back there, with Luke Ayling starting, with Sam Byram, who came in on a free. I mean, what would happen to this club? What would happen to you if you come in as a lone player if Archie Gray gets hurt or Ethan Ampadu gets hurt? Are you ever going to see any or Dan James is the winger that's going to be sending you service in all season? Is that what you want?
No, I hear that. I hear what you're saying, but it does. This is Leeds United.
Depressing. It's depressing.
No, but I do believe that Leicester and Southampton aside, Leeds United have the pull to bring in any player that wants to drop down to the Championship on loan. I honestly, there's not a chance anyone's choosing Cardiff or anything like that. I can't.
If we're in the division again next year, I think you're right. But like it's unstable.
Do you know you mentioned Sam Byram? Yeah, you mentioned Sam Byram being on a free, right? And that could well be Farke push that or whatever. But what do you
definitely should push it? I thought.
Where do you stand now on the amount of deals that Leeds United have done? Because my thing is as well, and I said this before Rhodon, even Radrazani, someone said we've been badly run for decades. I don't agree with that. I don't like Radrazani, but a badly run club does not get to the Premier League. It doesn't. As much
Unless
as I dislike him.
The second coming of Christ as your manager.
Maybe, but even still. But my point is anyway, sorry, just to go back. But
derailing you.
No, it's fine. Even Radrazani brought in Patrick Bamford for a similarly fee to Ampadu. That has only been our big take. That's our only big incoming. Byram on a free, Darlow 400k.
Yep.
And an Ampadu.
But
so,
a
again,
12 or 15 million bid that didn't get over the line.
Yeah, I think Bournemouth paid 7, rising up to 12. So I think it was something like that. But what's your stance on the business up to now?
I think we're trying to do business and we're not able to get it over the line. That's what I think is happening. I think that they're probably doing a strategy driven mostly by what Farke wants, and I think they're smart to do that. Farke doesn't want just anybody in his team, and I think that they're probably making inquiries. And I think that, I mean, do you remember what it was like for Sunderland as well? In Sunderland Till I Die, they'd get held on the line. Oh yeah, he's going to come up for his medical. He's not coming up. Actually,
do you think that's happening
difficult.
here, though?
Yes. Yeah. Why wouldn't it?
Really?
It happened to Sunderland in the Championship. Sunderland are a huge club too.
I live in Sunderland. They're massive.
Massive club, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're a bigger club, but like,
Yeah.
think about how Leeds United have gone the past couple seasons, right? You're going to on the outside, like it's just not. And I want to be really careful because some of you are going to misinterpret what I'm saying.
No, say it, man. It's all right.
As a fan, I want nothing more than like I would love to play for this club. I'm nowhere near a good enough footballer, but I think we have to step outside ourselves for a minute and realize that we are not attractive to players right now. If we were a little bit more stable, I think we probably will be in January once the free fall stops a little bit. But you're taking an incredible risk coming here. You are as a player.
So how do you acquire Ampadu?
You have to well, I think he probably had a conversation with the manager, and some players are just like that. And Ampadu, I think, knows what his level is right now, and that was a guy who by the way, I'm not saying his level is the championship. He has a high ceiling, but what I'm saying is how many he's being unfairly judged for the amount of relegations on his resume.
Yeah.
And I think there's a specific type of player who will like the project and see the potential and come to it. But that is not the modern player. That's the exception rather than the rule. The modern player wants to look good and have a highlight reel because there are a million numpties on Twitter that they think that's what a good footballer is. Think about this. Willie Gnonto has played for a half a season in the Premier League, essentially. He's 19 years old. Came in from Zurich for what, $3.5 million? And
cheap. Yeah,
has scored less than a handful of goals. Impactful, but fizzled out and was later left out. Thinks that he's in a position to refuse to play, and he doesn't have a clause in his contract. And Willie, everybody said, "Oh, this is a good kid," right? And I understand agents come into it. That's what I'm trying to say. That this isn't the 1980s anymore. It's not even the 1990s. The mentality of the players is different.
It's all about the money.
Alessandro Del Piero stayed at Juventus when they got relegated, right? That would never happen today, ever.
Yeah,
and it's
I agree.
I just, if you're a lone player, you want to go to a place that's going to be perfect for you, so you can go.
So
back to your
why
club.
do we get Joe Rhodon then?
Because we didn't see, there was none of this. Sinistero was still in the team. Gnonto was still in the team. I think it was a different kettle of fish, personally.
Okay.
I think the game has changed.
Okay. So
and you see it's one of those things when you see the rats jumping off the ship, you assume that the ship is sinking.
Yeah. No, I can understand your point. Don't disagree. I don't agree, but I understand your point that Rhodon was done probably at the same time Aaron's was coming in, and we're like, oh God, because I, as a fan, this time last week, whenever it was,
it was a great day, wasn't it? Aaron's is coming in. Yeah, we'll be fine.
It was amazing, and hopefully, and I've said this on every bloody stream that I do, hopefully things are about to change. But so with that in mind, then, so if we're not, again, is the blame not the 49ers currently right now to not make it look an attractive prospect? Or it's a new project, we're bringing in players, this is what we've bought so far, so why are they not doing that?
That's
and do you even expect them to do it? Because at the minute
they have to. I think that's where we agree. I don't agree with the culpability of the prior contracts. I agree that the 49ers are not doing enough. I think the biggest mistake they've made so far is naivety to think that these guys are going to stick around. They were going to be aggressive. I think that's what they thought aggression was. They were saying some of the players here are better than the championship level players. We'll get Tyler Adams to stay. I would love to have Tyler Adams jerseys selling in San Francisco. That's what he said. Right?
Do you know how mad this is as well, Gabe? Like, and I was saying it earlier, and I know you'll agree. In what world would a player? It's like if you in your job, right? If someone said to you, you can stay at this publishing company and we'll only pay you 40% of what you were earning. And another publishing company comes in and goes, well, we'll give you 100% of what you're earning. What are you going to do? You're going to get 100% in money.
Yep.
So why in their mind did they ever think that players were going to stay at Leeds in the championship on 40% of what they were earning? It's madness.
I think they thought they could sell them on the long-term vision, which is very corporate speak, by the way. I can't tell you the amount of startups that will contact somebody at Meta or Google or whatever and say to them, "Hey, listen, I know you're getting paid X amount of dollars per year, but listen, we're going to be the next big, and you can come in on the ground floor." Some people call for that. Most don't.
Yeah. Do you know? So we were talking there about the transfers. Do you like what kind of number are we looking at? Like, do you think?
I don't know, Joe. I just spent the last 3 or 4 weeks studying up on the players in the championship because honestly, I wasn't following for the last 3 years.
No, I get it. Yeah.
But I mean, on one hand, you're looking at what we were prepared to pay for a right back.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. Like, Pero clearly doesn't want to come to Leeds. I think Pero wants a transfer to a Premier League team. Gustavo Haber didn't want to come here. Yeah. I think we have to start reconciling ourselves to the fact that even though it may be a fake rumor, Chris Wood coming to Leeds would be a good thing.
That's bullshit rumor, though.
No, I know it is. I know it is. But what I'm saying is a Chris Wood type level of player coming in for 3 to 5 million would be good business for Leeds given in this window.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. There's a striker called Poliapano out there that's got 3.5 million on his Carlos says, Gabe, players would like to be here for the simple fact we have a lot of games on TV in the championship. I'm not sure I agree with that, Carlos, just because we're on TV
revenue out the window.
It's all about exposure. But no, yeah, look, I massively disagree in terms of Leeds not having a pull in the championship. I just and if what you're saying is true and we look like a basket case, which we do at the minute anyway, but
and the fan base is pissed off, Joe. That's another thing you have to think about. The fan base is really pissed off. And let's be honest. When the fan base is angry, it's not really nice to be a Leeds player, right? And I'm not saying that's wrong or is unjustified. It's 100% justified. But like, is the modern player built for that?
So I see a lot of this, like, can you blame X player for wanting to leave because we gave him shit when he missed chances and all this sort of stuff? That happens at every single football club. Neil Maupay has been abused this week. I'm not saying it's acceptable, but these people who are trying to say that's why they want to leave, it's bullshit. Yeah. I've seen some people take the line that's why Willie wants to leave. It's bullshit.
No. Yeah,
because if Willie goes to Everton, no disrespect, Everton will be singing the same fucking chants.
Sure will. Yep.
And I'm not saying it's right, but this notion that we're at fault for what's going on is wild.
And we're not. I hope no one took that from what I just said. That's absolutely not what I mean. I just mean that even 10 years ago, there would be some players that would look at this and say, I'm well up for that. I don't think the modern player is built that way. I don't. I think this is one of the things Leeds fans liked about Tyler Adams right away. And for full-fledged internationals, they have to play at the highest level, regardless of what you think of the U.S. men's national team or not. But for players who are, I mean, you're right. Like on paper, Joe, this should be a huge opportunity for people. But even Leeds' own fan base has been like, if we go down, we're not going up. I've heard that a million times, right? Because there's a genuine feeling that that's the case with this club. I just don't think that players are built now for those types of challenges. And I don't think that there's a lot of sentiment or loyalty in football anymore. I think it's just about chasing the bag. And right now, you're not going to get a big bag from Leeds, and you're going to be in a difficult situation, a club in transition, where you've had a lot of players going out, and you're not 100% sure about how things are going to shake out.
100%. I just want to, because I've seen a lot of comments, Roderick, from you, and I think maybe you're new to Leeds United. That's comment there is just so untrue, pal. Not even half as big as Everton. We're bigger than Everton. In my opinion. So that, I mean, I've seen some of your comments, and I'm not sure I agree with a lot of them. And to say that, but come on, you're not half as. I mean, we are, bro. But yeah, it is what it is. We move. Luke thinks it's positive. Oh, you feel positive right now. I'm not too. I'm not too sure what these to be positive about. Look, I was saying earlier on, and everyone keeps saying time. They need time. They've only just took over. Like, for me, I still stand by the point. They've been here since 2018. Now, of course, this could change tomorrow. We could see 3 players come in the door tomorrow, and it's a totally different look, right? I'm not saying it will happen, but you know, it could. In terms, if the 49ers get to the end of the window and don't do barely any business, where you at then?
There better be a damn good explanation for it, and they better come out with it, or else I'm going to say it's a dereliction of their responsibility.
Yeah,
and they would deserve to be harshly criticized.
Yeah. Do you think, and genuinely, just give me your opinion, do you think I'm harshly criticizing them now?
No,
Because I get it a lot. I do get it a lot.
No, I think
I just don't like them. I'm this, I'm that. I'm xenophobe. All this bullshit.
No. I think you're part of the zeitgeist right now of, and listen, like, not to center myself here, but like, you know, I lived in Leeds. Like, the city means a lot to me, and it's that's the whole reason I'm a fan of the club. They were in League One when I was living there, and remember that cup run with, Liverpool put us out. But I think that it's hard to understand for some people who either don't come from the area or aren't super connected to the club, that in a single club city, the economics of the city are affected by a club going down, right? So it's some people will say, "Oh, it's just a game, it's just football." No, it's more than that for some people. So I don't think that it's like completely gone to have more frustration and anger than you know what to do with, and to direct it because they are in charge now, and they are going to get it directed towards them. I would prefer to direct towards them what we know they're responsible for, and that's what happens in this window. Yes, there are disadvantages, but I would argue, and this is my big criticism of them right now, you could have taken a less naive strategy and said, "Hey, all of you that have loan clauses, we're going to find places for you. You're out." Because we're not going to be waiting. Tell us you want to be here today, and tell your manager to sign a new deal now, and we'll opt out of that. We'll renegotiate your contract. That's what they should have done with these players. Instead, they took a naive approach, or a stupid approach, however you want to, and I think they need to be held accountable for that, about what they've done in this window. If they don't, now I'm going to give them time, because there is time. And Farkas said from the very beginning, "Oh, it's going to be difficult with contracts. We're not going to know what our team looks like." He said it from the moment he got here. Fine, great, grand. If at the end of September, this team is still lined up the way they are, and we haven't won a couple games at least, I'm going to be pissed. I'm pissed now. Let's be clear.
I would go as far as to say I'd be already saying, "Get on your bike."
Really?
I'm serious, bro, because it's just been, when they sacked Bielsa, everything that was good, and we don't know if the 49ers were in. I don't think they were, because by all accounts they wanted him back, all this sort of stuff. But then again, that could have also just been, put out there. But I just, because at the minute I can only go on what I've seen, and I suppose the one thing I'm clinging on to is, for me, Gabe, is these deals may have deadlines, and if they do, then we need to see what happens after that. And also clinging on to the fact that they did put money up for Aaron's, so that shows there's money there. But yeah, I do worry, mate. I'm not confident right now. I can't lie to you.
You shouldn't be confident, Joe. It'd be naive, and you should. There's cause for concern. Listen, just because I'm a more stoic guy doesn't mean that I'm not concerned. I think anybody who's taking the position that we should trust in the process and just by default trust the 49ers,
Yeah, I
that's
hate that
foolish.
statement,
That's
trust,
dumb.
trust. I also hate this though, bro, and I don't know, give them to the end of the window. I don't agree with that, Gabe, because it's like the window's now. And the reason again, it's because I heard that in the previous ownership when I was getting dogs abuse for calling out, oh, why aren't we doing this? Because it's like, oh, well, wait to the end of the window, wait to the end of the window. People have been saying that to me 2 weeks ago. Do you know what I mean? And still not really anything has fucking changed. That's why I'm pissed about it,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily of give them to the end of the window. What I would say is we're only going to know by the end of the window what business was done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
like it's kind of a weird way of saying the same thing,
Yeah.
but it's just a different emphasis. I think,
Mm.
I don't want us doing business on the last day of the window.
Yeah. Do you
Obviously.
think they're with this whole Moneyball approach and how they're looking at it and making sure they get right acquisitions and all this sort of stuff? Because I honestly believe, pal, that had Cooper not got injured, Rhodon wouldn't be here.
It's hard.
The reason I
Connor
say
and I
that is
disagreed about this too. Connor said the same thing.
Yeah, because I think they were holding out for the right play. This is what we've seen. It takes them a while to make sure it feels almost like they're working the market a little bit and waiting for this and what options come available. And I just think they panicked with the. I'm not saying Rhodon's not a great signing because I think he is,
right?
But for what it doesn't do, it shows that there's no future planning with that because the loan can't even be made permanent. They'd have to renegotiate. So it seems a little bit mad. Whereas there were links to Phillips, 10 million. I do think that was overpriced, etc. But I do think that was only a byproduct of
I think
Cooper
it probably
getting injured.
sped up the process.
Yeah, sped up the process.
But honestly, you don't make a loan move with all that stuff in less than 12 hours. You have to have some established contact beforehand. They probably had like 3 irons in the fire. Cooper gets hurt.
Let me give you
okay, let's pull the trigger because we need to do it now.
Again, my main rebuttal to that as well is we've seen a similar situation in January when we got Nonto because we were told we've got 2 international strikers and the best young prospect in the country. Rodrigo injured his shoulder, and on that same day we tried to get Gakpo, Dieng, and then Nonto, and they were working on Nonto for a long time because he weren't supposed to come for the summer. So of course they're speaking to these players, but it almost felt like to me, and that's why again there's too many similarities between this ownership and the previous ownership.
Joe, some of it's just the way football does. I mean, you can say the same thing. We keep bringing up Sunderland but like you could say the same thing about how the way they did business. You can say the same thing like clubs down the line. There's only 2 ways of doing business. You get the business done early, or you get the business done late. You know what I mean? It's like, and I get it. I mean, we say it all the time. We're a traumatized fan base. We all have like PTSD from these guys. So like anything that strikes is similar. I just think that for our own sanity's sake, it's probably best to just judge them on what we know they're accountable for. We don't want to have a pin board with lines going around.
That's what I'm like, bro.
Yeah, Joe's got articles up for the last ever since 2017.
But it's there not in black and white, in sound form of him saying, I can help with contracts and stuff. Sure, he was involved.
Well, just saying he can help doesn't mean Rhodon had any interest in. I wanted him to be involved. Like that's the thing. I mean, I also think that I think that he thought he was going to be able to talk to 2 or 3 of these players that have clauses and get them signed up to new contracts immediately, and was going to look like a king. And that it's like, look how aggressive we've been. We've done 3 re-signings, and then we're going to have 2 or 5 extras.
And he did them while he was sleeping as well. I did it in my sleep.
Yeah, and that's just nonsense. No, it was never going to happen. And I think if we have if at the end of the window, and all things being equal, today, like it's been a bad window. All things being equal, if we end the window close to this position, then you have to say, well, what a joke. What a joke approach by them. But I'm just not gonna do the retroactive thing. Especially, I mean, we saw a while of Victor Orta and Rhodon, and just the unprofessional behavior from both. I mean, what kind of a director of football or sporting director or whatever taunts his own fans, says
No,
sack
I
of the
agree.
board? That's a guy who's confident in his own decisions, right?
Yeah, he's crazy guy.
I've been saying sack of the Joe in the comments for the last 6 months because of that. So, I mean, I think we want to probably, just for me, I'm going to focus on the accountability that I know is applicable, and that's everything that happened since the takeover. And it's been a very slow start. And if it doesn't improve, it's not going to be a good verdict, is it?
Realistically, how many players do you think we get in? Not what we need. You think we only do 2?
Yep, 2. I said 2 or 3. I think I'm telling you, Joe,
that's it, right? No. I hear you. Yeah, no, I hear you.
That's not what I want. I want 6 or 7. Let me be clear.
No, I know. Yeah, no, I'm glad you. So you only think. See, for me, I'm wanting 6, and if they only bring me 2, I'd be raging, mate.
Joe, I agree. I want to make it clear.
2. In what? That's mad. Surely not. If they think they're only getting 2, they're mad.
This is why I'm going to say. Listen, I have, because some of the people in the comments are calling me a 49ers apologist.
Mate, I'm an old guard apologist. I just run with it.
But here's the deal. Here's the deal. I will defend the stuff under the Orta and Rhodon stuff. I'm telling you now, I think they've messed up this window by over leveraging, trying to get people to stay. And I think that if
they'd have kept them,
so
then they would have only needed 2 and 3, right?
They're so behind on where we need to be negotiation wise. I think we're only going to end up with. By the way, it's not in total 2 to 3 more now, right? From what we have. So we have Ampadu, with Darlow, because I think they're going to look at 6 and be like, oh, that's a good Byram, 2 or 3 more. I think that they think that's going to be fine. It's not. And I'm going to judge it really hard. I'm going to say it's a disastrous window. That's what I think is going to happen. Wow. So the debate we're having is really more about the past. We're in agreement that it's not been a good window now. And that I think they've really screwed the pooch on this window.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2 players game. If we only got 2 more, that's not enough, man. It's not enough. Like, what areas of the pitch are we talking here? Because we need
a left back and a right back. It's clear that for me,
you think you think we'll only do a right back and a left back?
Mm-hmm.
And will you still back them after that?
No.
Right. Okay. So
unless wait, asterisk.
If you believe they are only going to bring you a right back and a left back right now in this moment, you believe that, why are you backing them?
Because there's this weird thing. I believe I can be wrong. So I'm going to, before I jump the gun and say 49ers out, I want to see if I'm wrong or not. But here's the deal too, Joe. Here's the asterisk, right?
Yeah.
I said on one Leeds that if I would be happy if we only invested in the defense and then reinvested, because remember, FFP is every fiscal year. It's not every football season, right? So when January hits, the numbers don't entirely reset, but some of the bleed over diminishes. If we invested in one of the best defenses in the championship, and let's be clear, if that right back signing had worked out, we would have had one of them, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You don't get beat if you don't let in goals, right?
100%.
So I'd be okay with being just shambolic going forward until January and not lose a lot of matches, and then ultimately reinvest in January. That's why I'm holding. Like, if we do 2 or 3 signings in the defense, and it's a great defense, I would say 2 signings in the defense and then 1 central midfielder. Like, again, I won't be happy with this. And I would say this is really naive. This is borderline get out of our club. But the proviso there is if it's all in the defense, I could say, all right, given the strategy, they're going to have to reinvest in January in attacking players. That's and again, this is provided we keep Somerville. You know, there's a lot of what ifs here.
Yeah. So Gail Dale, but that's naive to think them 3 are staying. Gabe's basing this on them not being here, right?
Somerville, I think
maybe.
I know Crystal Palace probably want him, but surely, unless he has a clause, surely we can't sell him. We can't.
I don't think they'll have a choice. Sorry, Gabe. I don't think they'll have a choice because he's in the same crew with Nonton Cini. You'll see him training on his own. Yeah,
but for all intents and purposes, I mean, I'm not going to lump 3 players together as having the same mind. Like, I think Nonto has been.
Really?
Yeah, really. I mean, Sinistera, let's be clear. Sinistera has a clause in his contract, so he can go. Nonto doesn't. So far, and Nonto refused to play in matches that Somerville did play. So we already see some deviation, or not deviation, but some
No,
some
he didn't play
variation.
against Birmingham. He was injured.
No, he was injured, right? But he played the previous game.
So did Nonto. Cardiff.
Wait a minute, I'm getting mixed up.
Cardiff. So Cardiff he
Oh,
played.
well,
Shrewsbury.
maybe I'm wrong.
That's what I'm saying.
But I just don't
So,
think they're group mind players. I want to give them
see.
just because they get their hair cut at the same spot. I've heard some people saying that, and it's. Just,
I said that jokingly, but no,
oh, okay.
I do. My thing was Somerville got injured
right
after the Cardiff game, and then all of a sudden, Nonto and Cini are not available. And I think seeing Somerville get injured put the shits up them and made them go, oh no, what if we get injured? And then next thing you know, none of them are fit. None of them can play. So I do think that, of course, they don't want to be here. And I think this divide between young and old is also that split in the camp as well a little bit from what happened at the back end of last season.
I've heard a lot about, even before last season, that just I know there's this perception that this is a United changing room, and because Jesse said it must have been true.
Yeah, exactly,
because Jesse always never gussed up something that wasn't worth hyping.
Like a lot of the players would have been pissed at Jesse for the way he dealt with the Click situation, because they're like that with Click.
Right. So and just like, no pun intended, but the clicks in the building were pretty strong. This was not United changing room. And I mean, listen, I know people love it, but I've said it a couple, like, listen, when you have a former teammate, or I guess they weren't there at the same time, but like when Vober's never said a thing wrong about Leeds United, right? He's never said anything negative about the club. Goes to another club and gives an interview, and Mateus Click, who, by the way, is playing somewhere else, goes and posts a laugh emoji about it. You know there were problems in the changing room. You know it. You know it.
100%.
So, and that's another thing. I'm sure. I just don't think, I don't want to come full back to this, but like, I think people will know that it's sort of a toxic place to be right now.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not going to want to come rushing in here.
Yeah. And if you are right, you know, having Ampadu come in because he knows James, and then Rhodon's come in because he knows Ampadu and James, and that maybe pushes it over the line slightly because they're mates, and come down, it'll be class. You know what I mean? So I get that as well. So
Adams and Ampadu are actually pretty close friends too.
They are. There is that as well, because he said he spoke to Adams, didn't he? Because they was at Leipzig together as well. I think he'd have only been, a kid.
And this is the thing, the point about Somerville. I know Somerville's a different player than Adams, but Adams is out the door. Everyone knew he was out the door. He's still spending the time to be a professional and talk to the players on the pitch. And
do you think? Here's a question for you.
Go on.
Do you think Adams would have refused to play had he not been injured?
No.
Because that's
Tyler Adams has never refused to play a game of football in his life. His transfer away from MLS was happening for ages and ages. He played.
Right.
It's just, now some would, like, and some players, I don't necessarily think they're all bad eggs, but like Tyler Adams is built different in that way. Listen, I'm not saying, I'm not saying he walks on water, but like that's something I don't think it's in his locker.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Right, mate. Well, is there anything else you want to go over?
I mean, here's my question for you, Joe. What are you going to do? What are you going to do if we don't make any signings? Like, what kind of content are you going to be churning out?
To be honest, if we don't make any signings, I reckon the day after the window, I'll be saying 49ers out.
49ers out. I mean, if we didn't make any signings, I'd agree. Agree.
I'll go full league gunner on people, and I'll be just like, that's it. Like I just, for me, they told us aggressive. They told us the puff piece. Whether or not we both disagree on who put that out and whatnot, or who was involved, but I just think you can't come in, and promise the world and bring in Ampadu, Byram. This is my thing as well, right? We're already as a fan base reducing our expectations, because in what world I already think people are already too relaxed, because in what world, when we got relegated, if someone would have told you that the second game of the season, Jamie Shackleton would be playing at right back, Jan Paveda would be playing in the 10, you'd have brought Sam Byron back on a free contract, you'd have gone, are you mad? Genuinely, you'd have gone, are you mad? You'd have gone, burn it all down now. Like, what are we doing? We've just been relegated. You know, I've gone, this is the mad thing. The season started on the 6th for us, on the 6th, right?
Yep.
On the 6th of August.
Yep.
It's now is it the 16th? 16th. So it's been 10 days. 10 days, and already I'm done. Already I'm tired. Already I'm frustrated.
What if I said in America it's still 9 days? Would you feel any better? No, I'm just kidding.
What do you mean?
I'm 5 hours behind, so it's
typically right. No, but do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
I thought I'd be looking to new horizons, and oh yeah, we're gonna win some games. We haven't won one. Shrewsbury don't really count. I mean, we were 1-0 down at half time, but it's like But Joe,
when people said getting relegated would be disastrous for this club, what do you think they meant? Like, it didn't mean that we would bounce right back up. It means it would be a disaster for the club.
No, man, I used to argue with people when they tried to tell me it'll be good for this football club to reset.
I did too.
Like,
I did too.
It's never good to get relegated and reset.
Nonsense.
It's just never good to reset. Yeah, because this happens, right?
It does.
This happens. So I just don't think any Leeds fan in a sane mind felt that 10 days into the season we would be feeling like this. Mm-hmm. Not even the most positive. Yeah, when you still and that's why I feel I'm justified and right to feel how I feel. Now, of course, some people are more positive. That's fine. But for me, I'm like, what is going on here? Like, why? Yeah, I don't know. Joe Shaw.
I 100% agree with you, Joe. Like, you're justified to feel how you feel. I don't necessarily agree with some of the assertions, but the feelings, no one's happy right now. And if you are, you're what is it that Roy says? Cloud Cuckoo Land?
Yeah, Cloud Cuckoo Land. Yeah. Well, you are. You're in the trees. This is what I'm saying. Like, I never get the whole narrative of, oh, what a fan you are. Why? Because I'm calling
that's
it.
That's like saying you don't love your kids if you yell at them for doing something stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Like, yeah. Joe Shaw, member for 11 months. Big up to you, mate. Nearly at the year mark. He says, what else to say but Marcelo Bielsa? Exactly. If he was, do you know what? And I didn't agree with it, but I remember Rob Mulholland saying I'd get relegated with this manager, and he got absolutely battered for it. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I thought, do you know what? It wouldn't have been a bad thing after the fucking last 18 months we've had, to be honest.
Do you know what's crazy to me, Joe? As bad as that was, and it was, we ended up staying up by the skin of our teeth that season. And if we had sacked Marsh before the window, I think about this all the time. Yeah, I think about this all the time, because we were only a couple results, and even some matches that we were the better team under Marsh. We had a couple matches. If it had just gone a different way, we'd still be in the division. And it would be such a different, it's so different to start under a new ownership who have more money in the Premier League than it is going down division.
Yeah. That Liverpool result, as great as it was on the night, was the worst thing that could have happened to us.
Yeah, but other clubs, Joe, sack managers even if they win. You know what I mean? Like look what Bournemouth did. They took a chance. Gary O'Neill kept them up, and they went with Areola. You know, and it was the best thing to do.
Yeah, it is. It's so true. Listen, folks, we've done an hour and 20 minutes. Really enjoyable late chat tonight. Really tired. Gabe's still in the middle of the day, I think, are you, mate?
7:30. It's time for
7:30. There you go.
Winding down.
What are you having for dinner? Anything nice?
I've got some codfish I might make.
Nice.
Probably just a chicken salad again.
Chicken salad?
Yeah. Oh, I'm on the summer fitness thing now. I got
nice.
Some of our subscribers pointed out that I got a little puffy faced and rough during the winter. Oh yeah, they were like, "What's up with the game?" I was like, "You guys."
Oh God,
always on the wind up.
Oh, they always are. I hope people can see that I'm not a xenophobe. Okay, I thought that was very amicable chat. No, listen, hopefully, does anybody in the comments know that we might be doing another Amazon kind of vibe at all? Have you heard that at all, Gabe?
What, to film it?
Like yeah, no?
Christ, I hope not. Not for a
No,
while.
I don't know.
What if, listen, what if things go, I personally don't think that at this point in his career, Bielsa is going to enjoy international management as much as club management. What if they, this won't happen, but what if they brought back Bielsa and filmed that season? Is there anything that would make you happier in this world, Joe?
No, that would be amazing. Do you know what? In a mad thing, it's a double-edged sword because Bielsa both gave me my best time as a football fan, but also ruined football for me.
How so?
Because it was so beautiful that
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever get anywhere close to that again. Like
the
what
first
it did
oysters
for me,
I had were off the coast of Maine, and they were fresh from the sea. It was my first time having oysters. I'm like, great. Now forever, when I have an oyster, it's not going to be as good as this. Similar experience.
Exactly. Yeah, no, 100%. Because
a little culture to the channel here.
Yeah. After being a season ticket older and seeing Tripe to then Stoke, and I was just like, oh my god.
Listen, I know you didn't rate, and I know we need to go, and I know neither of us rated March and both wanted to God, but like of all the managers at Leeds that you've suffered through, who do you think was actually the worst? Because there have been some dire.
There's been some bad ones, mate. This might be a bit left field because he weren't here long, but I remember Darko Milanic was really bad. I mean, there's a lot worse, Steve Evans, etc. But I remember I think we played Charlton and we were 1-0 up at half time, and Darko Milanic at the time was that like petrified about getting results that he took off. I think he took off Steve Morrison at half time, who was brutal, by the way, and just went mad defensive, and we lost 2-1 anyway. But yeah, like Allison said, bloody
that's a great shout by Allison. Yeah,
David Hockaday was wild. But
I also got to say he's not statistically in this category, but for me, the one I liked the least was Monk.
Yeah, but he came in and actually started to make it better. That was sort of like the start of the rise, I think. Maybe. Yeah. We've had a lot, though, like people have said. Venables, Reed, Hockaday, Evans, Milanic. It's been loads, man. Brutal, but
yeah.
For everyone, there was no one for me anyway. I know people disagree, but for me, Bielsa's the best.
Yeah.
Now, I get just for me personally, because a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, what about Wilco?" And I was only 3 when we won the league title under him. But for me personally, just for what he did, not even like you can go around Leeds now, and the murals that are up in the city centre, they're all because of Bielsa.
Yeah, that Bielsa mural out in Hyde Park when I was out near Hyde Park when I was there in January. I went out and had a look again. Yeah, it's you're right. For me, Bielsa's always going to be goated. I thought Simon Grayson did a job for us as well. I know he failed other places, but I liked him. I don't rate him as a manager necessarily, but I liked him at Leeds.
Yeah, but I think to be honest, and I've said this, I think for me, like Marsh is up there for me personally because of what he ripped up. Like we were. For me, the mad thing is, mate, I was going to games and we were getting dicked, and I still never called for the man's head, like because I just.
Did you not call for the man's head on what was it when you were on Sky or BBC after we stayed up and you were like, he's not for me?
Oh no, I'm on about Bielsa. I'm on about Bielsa. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I did. Yeah, Marsh.
I remember seeing you on there. I was like, what a legend.
No, I honestly, Jesse Marsh, and people eventually come round to it because I used to get battered for that, Gabe. I used to get battered for that, and I was right. But we moved. No, listen, it's been a pleasure. Honestly, really nice chat. I think people have enjoyed it in the chat as well, always. And listen, hopefully we'll yeah, well, something will happen tomorrow. We say this every evening. Hopefully, something will happen tomorrow. But yeah, we'll see. Make sure you check out Gabe over on One Leeds and on Twitter as well. You all know about One Leeds by now. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow at some point. Oh, press conference tomorrow. That's going to be really good. 1:30.
Get some stuff.
Yes, yes. So 1:30, I'll be watching it. And like I say, I'll be reacting to it about 2:30, folks, or 2 o'clock. Whenever the press conference finishes, I'll be there. So make sure you join us, and I'll see you in a bit. Peace out, folks. Come on, Leeds.